All right, welcome everyone to our SMART session today. This is our back to school showcase. These sessions are focused primarily for leaders. We have them monthly at 10 a.m. So we'll go ahead and get started today. You have access to this slide deck on the bit.ly link that you see on your screen. And actually, let me also grab it for you and put it in the chat if you're joining us live. Nat, you want to go ahead and change the slide?
Yep.
And just to let you know, so my name is Aaron. I'm one of your customer experience team members, along with Katie and Kat. We are your team to help you out with anything you need in terms of supporting your experience with Gradient. You have our email down there, support@gradecam.com, as well as our phone number if you ever need to call in and get some help with any issues you're facing. But for today's session, it is all about our back to school showcase, talking about some of the great things that Gradient has come up with over the summer and what's kind of coming up. And so for that, we have our director of product, Natalie, here to share with you all. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Nat.
All right. You recording, Aaron?
I am recording.
Okay, perfect. I always like to check because people all the time. Hello, everybody. My name is Natalie Howell. As Aaron said, I'm the director of product here at Gradient by GradeCam. For those of you that don't know me, I was a former teacher. I taught high school biology, chemistry, taught middle school science. I'm the mother of a teacher who teaches middle school science in the Southeast, and moved into ed tech about, I guess, 6 or 7 years ago now. And now have the kind of honor of being the person who heads the team that decides kind of the future of our product. So it's a wonderful job to be able to help all of the folks where I came from, and then also to get feedback from everybody around what we should be building going forward. You'll have to excuse me, I've been a little ill lately, so sound a little froggy, but plan today is to talk about summer releases. Things that came out, probably I'll review a little bit of what came out in the spring and then show some of the things that we did this summer, and then talk a little bit to things that are on our roadmap going forward in the fall. So just some highlights, and as Aaron said, you'll get access to this slide deck. We put as many links in here as we possibly can to support documents, or and you'll see some forms and stuff later on, so that you can get more information about everything, since we don't have time to talk about all of the things in depth. So for starters, we started, we've supported Clever for quite a while, but we did add ClassLink rostering and single sign-on for those districts that use ClassLink. We do now have a Respondus lockdown browser in our school subscriptions. If you want that turned on, there's some work that the district has to do, has to be on district devices, et cetera, but it does lock students into the portal so that they can't take screenshots or move into another window or anything like that. We did add extra credit questions. This was a big ask from a lot of teachers. So now there's a nice little switch that I'll show you in a minute where you can simply make a question extra credit. We added a functionality called inactive teachers. We used to delete teachers when they no longer were in the Clever or ClassLink files, and now instead of that, we do just inactivate them. That way, if they come back, if there was an error in the file, we get that information back. And then the expandable side panel, which I'll show you as well. So here is extra credit. It's a simple toggle switch that's available on all item types, and turning it on will take whatever the point value is for that question and factor that in above and beyond. I know for me in science, I always had at least probably one extra credit question on a test, usually as a review question. So this would have been a very helpful feature for me. Here's that expandable side panel. It's the side panel when you're building questions. It's also the side panel when you're scoring student responses. One of the biggest feature requests we got as well was the fact that that was always a very small panel on the right-hand side, and people wanted to be able to make it larger because they weren't as concerned with what was behind the screen. So now you can absolutely do that, drag it out, drag it back in, make it as large as you need it to be so that you can do what you need to do more effectively. And this is, if you're an admin, meaning you can get into admin mode, which has the pink banner at the top, you'll see that here we have a new symbol, and there are a number of symbols there that you'll see. If you sync with Clever, you see the little Clever icon. If you sync with ClassLink, you'll see a ClassLink icon. If you do manual syncing, meaning you're doing file imports or you're actually creating people by hand, you'll see that building icon right there. And then the icon right next to it is the inactive icon. You can see the filter on the left that has the square around it, says inactive, and that icon lets you know as well that that person is not activated. It does allow you, especially in manual syncing, to limit a person's access. So if a person has left your district or your school, you can inactivate them, but still see the data that is potentially tied to them in their classes. So very, very nice feature there that allows you to not lose any data that you might want to look at. And then I also did want to highlight, we have a help center at the bottom left of the screen. There's the little question mark. You can see it down there. And in that help center, we do have the announcements, what's new at the top, and you'll get a little notification bubble, kind of like you do on your phone with your emails and your texts. That is how we communicate to folks what features have been released or updates or anything new. We do releases at least probably once a week. Sometimes the features are larger, sometimes they're smaller, sometimes they're just fixes. But if it's something that we know that you, our end users, are going to want to see, we definitely put it in there because we don't want to pop a bunch of stuff up all the time. So if you see a notification icon there, definitely click it, look at it, and see what it is that we've recently released so that you can either use it as a teacher, or if you're an administrator, you can communicate to your teachers that there's something new out there for them. So summer 2022, I'm going to go through each of these individually on the following slides. So I'm going to kind of breeze through this pretty quickly, but this is just a kind of higher level list of things that are going to be more visual to you guys, the end users. The first one being custom access groups, full page scanning, standards improvements, self-service setup for Canvas and Schoology. We did a little tweak in Student Portal. And then the last one, which is allow multiple tabs open per account. I'm going to start with that one just because there's really no picture of that one, and then I'll circle back to the others. We got asked this a ton, and I know from my experience, I was actually a GradeCam user when I was in the classroom. I always had a scanning station set up, and I had a computer that I would be projecting on. And the goal would be that my kids would do warm-ups or exit tickets, walk up, scan their things on my scanning station. And then I could potentially display the results, right, in an anonymous fashion so that we could talk about what they're missing or what questions they might have. Unfortunately, we used to not allow you to be logged into to the same account on two different devices like that. So I would have to wait and then log off of one and log onto the other. Now you can do that. So if you want to have a scanning station set up in your classroom, or like we put here, great option for phone scanning, you can absolutely go around the room and scan with your phone and have your laptop still on GradeCam, and then you just refresh and you'll have all that data show up. So it's not going to boot you out of other sessions if you're tied to one on your phone or on a device. So starting off with custom access groups, this is a pretty big one. I'm going to just talk fairly high level here, but I highly recommend going and looking at the support docs that you see linked there. So before this summer, when we had this release, just so that we can kind of understand what we had before and what we have now, basically, if you wanted to give somebody additional functionality or features beyond the typical teacher area where they're building tests and giving tests, meaning if you wanted them to be able to get into school reporting mode or be able to do help desk or be able to do any administrative tasks, you had 4 options. You had a role admin, you had a roster admin, you had school reporting mode, and you had help desk. Within each of those roles were what we call permissions, or things that you could do. They weren't flexible. So if you wanted someone to be able to manage rosters, they also got a number of other permissions that you might not have needed them to have. So that was something that we were asked about a lot, was creating that ability to customize what people can and can't do so that they don't have permissions above and beyond what they need. So now, instead of having those 4 roles and only being able to choose from those 4, we have what are called custom access groups. If you're in admin mode now, you will see, if you are a system administrator, you will see at the top of the screen, it'll have schools, classes, students, access groups. And in those access groups, you can create access groups that have 1 permission, 10 permissions, all the permissions, basically whatever works for you and what you need your people to have. And then you add people to that group. We do have 3 default groups. So system administrator, school support, and instructional leader. If you don't want to make your own, I would probably say 95% of folks can probably function within the 3 default groups. But if you do have the need for other specific groups, you can absolutely do whatever you need there. And the example I wanted to give here, just because I'm going to show this one little section of access groups, this is something that we see a lot of support ticket questions about, is districts or schools who just want to import some teachers, some students, and some classes, and let the teachers manage their own class rosters because they don't have Clever, or they don't have ClassLink, they don't have the ability to set up any kind of automated sync. So they want teachers to be able to put a kid in their class or take a kid out on their own. That is a permission that we now offer. So this is just a screenshot of a section of the permissions. You can see others that are kind of gray, but at the bottom it's highlighted, add or remove district students from their district classes. So if you just give folks that 1 permission and you put all of your teachers into that access group, those teachers will have the ability to search for students created in admin mode and then put them into classes that they are assigned to. So if you don't have, we totally understand that it's, especially in high school when kids come and go a lot at the beginning of the year, if you're not on some sort of automated file import system, things get stale pretty quickly. So this might be something that you're interested in. And if you have any questions, of course, support and your customer experience folks are here to help you. Full page open response. So another thing that was a very big topic, we have a lot of teachers who use us in high school for AP. And as we all know, in AP classes, there's lots of writing. So prior to this release, the max height you could have made your open response box was 10. That was the option, was basically 10 lines. And now you have the option of doing full page. This is a screenshot of what full page would look like with lines added. And then these are the new options for that capture area. It used to be a box or a line you just typed on, anything from 1 to 10. Now we just give you options. You can choose anything from 1 row to 10 rows. You can choose fill the rest of the current page, which means if you have 10 multiple choice questions and you want your next question to be open response, we will fill down until the rest of that page. So you use paper wisely. If you need it to be a full page, then if you choose full page, it would bump it onto the next page so that you get the true full page. Tip here, if you require students to bubble their ID, a full page will actually be shorter because that does take up some space at the top. So if you want a true full page, make sure that you print forms with the student names already on there so that they don't have that space where they have to bubble. Standards filtering, this is a GIF, so it's going to run. We made a few switches. So the lines are different. Subject and grade used to be on the top. Source was the second line. And these weren't what we call cascading filters, meaning The first filter you choose decides what's in the second, which decides what's in the third. So there was a lot of kind of switching around that could happen, which sometimes threw people off. So the way it works now is whatever source you choose, whether it's Common Core, whether it's AP standards, anything like that, the subject will only give you the options for the courses or the subjects that are part of that standard set. So Common Core obviously is only in ELA and math. Those are the only two you'll see. You don't see a lot of other options. And then from there, it'll only show grade levels that are within those subjects. AP obviously is high school. Common Core shows K-12. So you'll notice there's a difference there. It definitely keeps people from choosing standards that are not the ones that they intend. And this is something that we do intend to do even more work on, but this was a great quick solution for people before summer ended. Canvas and Schoology, this is one of the most popular things that we have right now. So we call these LTI integrations, if you hear the term LTI, but it works for both Canvas and Schoology for us. And it's a way of putting, basically allowing people to log into Gradient through either Canvas or Schoology, so they don't have to have two separate logins. And then they can also assign or create assignments in Canvas or Schoology directly from there using Gradient, and then the students can also do the same. So if your district or school uses Canvas or Schoology and you haven't set it up yet, now you can do it yourself. So here it'll walk you through. If you are an admin and you go up to settings and you click settings, you'll notice now there's something called integrations. And if you flip the switch, it'll give you your key and your secret and your XML code snippet. For those of you who work at a district or school level and deal with this, you'll be very familiar with these because most of you have a ton of these already going in Canvas and Schoology. And all the information is there for you to set that integration up for yourself. We do have some support documentation as well to help you, but it used to be you had to send in a support ticket and wait for us to get back to you with that information. Now it's completely built into the product. And if you want to turn it off, you just flip the enable switch off and it's off. Student portal. We simply flipped the PDF and the answer document. So the PDF was on the right, the answer document was on the left. Now they are the other way around, which is what mimics most testing platforms that students might be in. So we just wanted to be more aligned with what students are normally experiencing in, especially kind of more along the lines of state testing products. Current projects that we're working on. So back to school is always a busy time for everybody, teachers, schools, and ed tech companies. So right now we are working on a number of things. The first of which is co-teacher support for Clever and ClassLink to start with. A lot of districts do roster co-teachers, so 2 teachers for 1 section or class. And currently we don't support that. So we are working on that to start with Clever and ClassLink and then likely move it on to folks who do manual rostering, meaning file uploads or SFTP. I am very interested in talking to folks who do co-teachers. We tend to cater more to middle and high school, and it's a very unique situation with co-teachers and how they're being used in high school districts and middle schools where I've talked to recently is very different from district to another. So if you do have information about that and do want to talk to us at the end, you'll see where you can sign up to be one of our partners. Reporting improvements, which I'll give you a little sneak peek of here in just a second. And then we are working on integrating with an equation editor and rich text meaning bold, italics, underline, superscript, subscript, those kinds of things in the open response question type. We have a lot of math and science teachers. I was a science teacher, and having something like a superscript would be essential for any kind of units, right? If I'm talking about density or volume or anything like that, I would need those superscripts for that to work correctly. So adding things like an equation editor and rich text will definitely help our math and science folks be able to use those open response questions correctly. Here's just a kind of a sneak peek of a reporting change that we're looking to make. And I'm going to give the caveat here that this is just what we call a mock-up. It's not actually in the product yet, so it might tweak a little bit in just a second. You might not look exactly this way, but this is just a little bit of a visual. This is a current class overview. Super helpful report within an assignment. Can be within an assignment, or it can include multiple assignments, but I know I taught 6 classes a day, same subject, and I would like to look and see how my classes were doing compared to each other. So I've blurred out some things, but what you currently get is how many students are in the class, how many took the test, which is super helpful information, right? On this first one, I know that 1 student still hasn't taken this test, and I got the mean or average on this test. Here is kind of what we're looking at for a new version. One thing that would have always been important to me was the distribution, right? I would also want to know how many kids in this class were doing well based on my performance bands versus not well based on my performance bands. So instead of having mean as a column at the end, you can see that's what the little icons are on the bars. And when you hover over them, it would show the mean was 85 or 75 or 95, whatever it was. And then these are stacked bar charts so that they're all the same length or width, no matter how many students take it. And the area is divided into percentages. And that way you get kind of a consistent view. And also some people actually do have classes that only have like 3 students in them, and it would be a very tiny bar if you only had 3 students in your class. So we wanted to make sure that it was still visible regardless of class size. So that's just one example of something we're looking at doing in reports, adding more filters, changing how the filters work. A lot of that kind of stuff is what we're looking for as well. So here is something I would love to get more people involved in, is being a product partner. If you click there, you will go to a Google form that'll ask you some basic questions. And we use the people who sign up here based on kind of how you answer. We might reach out to you regarding co-teachers. We might reach out to you regarding reporting changes. So at the end, when it asks questions, like whatever you are passionate about, whatever you would like to do that you can't do as of now, put that in there, because we hear you and we would love to have your feedback before we build these features. We do this for you guys to try to make your lives easier and give you more time with your students. So any feedback you can give would be super appreciated. All right, next steps. Aaron, I'll let you run here.
All right, sounds good. I thank you, Nat. That was wonderful. For those of you who are attending, I know we are a bit over our 15-minute time limit. So if you need to run, I just want to let you know this slide has all of the information you need to contact us. On the left there, you've got your team, the support email and phone number if you need it. In the middle here, you have the resource center that is in Gradient, and that it's going to show up in that lower left-hand corner question mark icon, as Nat talked about earlier. So if you ever see a notification there, there's probably some exciting announcement you can check out and learn about in the site. And also wanted to just draw your attention, we have our release notes that we send out. So if you're ever curious, you can access those through that announcement center. And you should have received our 2nd issue of the newsletter today in your email inbox. So we've got a little preview of that here. All of these images on this slide are also clickable. So if you use that bit.ly link in the chat, you can access these links to get a hold of us. And then on the next slide, I just have a link and an image to some of our previous smart sessions that we've had for kind of any sort of topic that you might be interested in. Some popular sessions on the left that we feel might be particularly relevant at the start of the year right now for you. And on the right is an image of our training hub, which I'm going to throw in the chat right now as well. This allows you to, although you're already registered for this one, so you're registered for all of the smart sessions, but if you are watching us on a recording and not registered yet, you can sign up in the training hub as well as access all of our previous smart sessions on demand. And that is all we have today. So thank you, Nat, for sharing with us. And if anyone has any questions, you are welcome to throw them in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.